Hey, this is Eric Arsenault. For those of you who are fans of my videos, um, thank you for watching. This is different in that I'm not giving free vocal advice right now, and I'm not about to sing a song, but I really hope that you watch anyway. If you read my bio section on my YouTube channel page or my MySpace page, you'll read a little bit about what I went through, but those who are closest to me know that I admitted some details about what I went through. And recently I've been urged by friends to tell the truth about some of the things that happened. And I think it's very important, especially during Black History Month, that my black brothers and sisters watch this, but I think it's especially important and equally important that uh, my white brothers and sisters and my Latino brothers and sisters and my Asian brothers and sisters and all my human brothers and sisters watch this as well. If any of what I say in the next few minutes offends you or angers you, then good. I invite you to become enraged. I invite you to be angered at the truth of the current state of our society. Basically, I'd like to start off by saying that there were many of us who went through a lot, and unfortunately, when the media would go to people to tell the story, they would single out those who were least capable of expressing themselves verbally in a clear way and least capable of articulating the events that happened. I believe that this was done on purpose. Um, However, I'm quite capable of expressing myself. I have a strong command of the English language, and I intend to use it to paint as vivid a picture as possible of my experiences during this time. I feel burdened by the truth and burdened by the fact that it has yet to be fully expressed, and hopefully by doing this little testimony I can alleviate this burden. Basically, when Hurricane Katrina hit, I was at my parents' home in New Orleans. Um, I was in the process of getting ready to make a move. My manager at the time was based in Atlanta and I was being urged to leave, but my dad let me know that he wanted to stay in New Orleans and my mom was going to stay because my dad was going to stay, and I couldn't let them stay while I left, so I decided to stay too. When Hurricane Katrina hit, everything was fine. It was noisy, but aside from one broken window, there was no problems at all. When the hurricane was over and daylight broke, everything looked okay. And in fact, we all went to sleep because we stayed up all night worrying. And it almost felt like we worried for nothing. I remember our biggest concern was that we'd have to redo the carpets, and my mom was talking about how she might get a chance to redo the kitchen since there was a little bit of damage from some mud and water that had flown in through the cracked window. However, I woke up to hear my mom yelling that I had to move my car because water was rising up, and it was so confusing because there was no rain coming down and yet water was continuing to rise up, and it was just really weird. And at the time we had no knowledge of the levees breaking or anything like that. It was just it seemed very random and very surreal. We began to bring objects of importance upstairs to the attic, food and water, obviously, and important documents like birth certificates and stuff like that, and then family portraits and pictures and memorabilia. Um, we would run up the stairs and run back down, and at first the water would be up to the sole of your foot, and then you'd run up again and you'd run back down and the water would be up to your ankle, and then you'd run up again and run back down and it would be up to your calf, and within 20 minutes the house was full with water up to my chest. And I don't even think we had time to really be afraid. It was more surreal, like a dream, like you can't imagine this happening. But I watched as everything I owned, everything my parents owned, was submerged in water within 20 minutes, and I couldn't do anything about it. Everything was taken away, and all I could do was watch. My family and I were trapped in our attic for about 3 days, and in temperatures of over 100 degrees. It was so hot, sweating nonstop, even at night. And I remember my mom saying, I overheard a conversation with her telling one of her friends that she would lay awake and see me and my brother sleeping on the floor, and she would ask God not to let us die like that. She would see us lying down, sweating, still, and there was just no end to it. You lose your appetite in situations like that. Um, we were all very dehydrated, and at the risk of overshare, I didn't even have to use the restroom once for the last day and a half that we were there. I was just that dehydrated. And we were drinking water, and still, that's just how intense the sweating was. The hard part was watching newscopters encircle the house and come so close where they can wave at you. And we saw a ton of newscopters, and yet the radio told us of how it would take days for relief copters to come from our government. And yet these newscopters were out the day, the first night that we were there. The newscopters were there, and yet our government continued to talk about how much of a struggle it was to reach us. And yeah, we had a little TV radio upstairs that was battery powered, so by this time we kind of knew what was going on somewhat, as much as everyone else knew, at least. I honestly don't think that I was afraid of dying at all, but what was scary was the idea of what we might have to do to stay alive. In the beginning, it was so surreal, and we were so in survival mode, and it was such a dreamlike kind of thing where we were even kind of joking about, swimming across the street to the neighbor's house, which was a 3-story house, and stealing supplies. And it was kind of a joke to alleviate the tension in the room at the time. And by the last day, things that we were joking about were now serious concepts that we were discussing. So while on day 1 it might have been, hey, we could even jump in the water and swim across, by day 3 it was, okay, this is the plan for jumping in the water and swimming across. All of a sudden it was serious, and that's what was scaring me, because I felt like that sense of desperation was setting in, and we really came to a place where the idea was very real to us that we may not be rescued for a long time, that we might actually have to figure out a way to stay alive for weeks, because at the rate that things were going, it really didn't look like we were going to be saved anytime soon. And the first 2 days we were just guzzling down water like it was nothing, because we had some water saved. And by the 3rd day I remember waking up and my mom saying, get a cap full of water and lie back down. We don't want to move too much. We don't want to sweat, so we want to lay still to conserve as much energy as possible. It was 10 a.m. and take your cap full of water and lie down, because we don't know how much longer we have to make this last. And the heat was unbearable and getting worse every day, and we hadn't had a chance to bathe, and the stench, the water contained everything you could imagine, the water that surrounded the houses, everything you would see in the street, sewage. You can use your imagination, and it was in there.